Welcome to this course. Now this course is about Appium mobile testing with iOS as a OS. We'll be using programming language as Java. We'll be using as a automation tool which is Appium, which is a well-known mobile app testing tool. We'll be using build tool for Java. We'll be using IntelliJ as an integrated development environment. We'll be using iOS, Apple iOS specifically, and we'll be using Mac configurations as such. And we will be using Apple Maps to test our app as such. And we'll be looking at particular scenarios which you will be using an exhaustive course. Now, by end of this course, what you will be able to do is using the iOS simulator, we'll be searching for a particular location in the app, mobile app as such, and using Appium scripts, we will be doing the assertions and validations. Looking for a location specifically in this example, we'll be using Sydney Harbour Bridge and validate whether directions, website, and tickets are really visible. All right, so just because this particular course is going to be a very exhaustive one based on Appium and that too on iOS, what I have done is I have come up with a roadmap, and you can see we have a step-by-step approach that we have come up with. The step number one which we will be doing is we will be installing homebrew in our Mac. Okay, so you need to have a Mac so that you can really use the iOS simulators. And most of my students ask whether I can use a Windows machine or not. Better to use Mac, and you have a Mac OS because it's an Apple one, and because we are going to use iOS simulators as such, that's why you need to have a Mac. Second step which we'll be doing is installation of Java using homebrew in our Mac. Then we will be installing Node and verify and npm as such. Then we will be installing Appium using Node and start the Appium server as such. Okay, step number 5, we will be verifying whether the Appium server is up and running after we have made sure that the Appium server commands are run. Step number 6 we will be installing IntelliJ in our local machine, which is our MacBook. Okay, that's what we'll be doing in step number 6. Step number 7, we'll be going through the capabilities of mobile phone app that we need to know before configuring Appium test. This is very important, specifically from Appium perspective, and we'll be touching base on what are the capabilities. We will be looking at some aspects of the must required capabilities and some of the capabilities of Android and how those are different from iOS as such. Step number 8, we will be creating a new Java project in our IntelliJ for Appium test as such. Step number 9, we will be getting the UDID of the real device phone. Though this course is based on iOS simulators, we'll be touching base on this particular step, which is getting the UDID of the real device phone in case you do not have any other mechanism. Okay, step number 10, we'll be installing Appium driver, which is XCUITest as such, and which is very important, especially for the Appium driver, without which we cannot start with Appium as such. Step number 11, we will be downloading and installing a very good tool called Appium Inspector. Now, Appium Inspector helps us to gather some of the element locators and able to specifically distinguish these element locators. Step number 12 will be doing the installation of Xcode. Now Xcode is required, is a tool which helps us to build, develop and test, and of course iOS simulators also come up with Xcode as such. Step number 13 will be running the WebDriver agent. I'll be walking you through what's a WebDriver agent and how does it really be different for a real device and an iOS simulator. Step number 14, we'll be looking at the iOS simulator using Xcode. So we'll be using at iOS simulator of iPhone 14, and that is what we'll be using for our test. Step number 15, Apple map test. Now we'll be using an Apple map which is present in our iOS simulator. Now we'll be looking at a test scenario which is a search a location and then validate if directions, website and tickets are visible for that particular location as such. Step number 16, we'll be starting writing our Appium scripts in IntelliJ, and that's how we'll be trying to understand about locator strategies. We will be touching base on step number 17, which is Appium locator strategies and selectors. These are very much common locator strategies and selectors. You can use it across different OS of iOS or Android, and it is pretty important that you use a specific locator strategy and selector for your Appium script. Step number 18, we'll be looking at using Appium Inspector, capturing the selectors of the Apple Map app. Step number 19, we'll be writing the Appium scripts and demonstration of the test of the Apple Map via Appium scripts. So we'll be searching for a location of Sydney Harbour, and we will be validating the assertions as well. We will have another example that we are looking for a location which is Statue of Liberty. Okay, now we can use the same scripts to perform this search location and validating the assertions. But having said that, this is a very exhaustive course as such, which will be definitely helping you step by step approach. Sit back, relax, and let's start with the step number one. Alright, so in this video, what we are going to do is we are going to install Homebrew. And Homebrew is a mechanism where we can actually use that Homebrew as a software so that we can install some other softwares as such. And this is what we will try to do. What you need to do is you need to have Xcode in your machine, okay? And Xcode is Apple related, and we can use Xcode to install Homebrew as such. So let's do one thing. Let's go to your favorite browser, which might be Google Chrome or Safari. Just type over here is Homebrew installation, and the moment you type and press enter on Google Chrome as Homebrew installation, you will be able to see installation Homebrew documentation. Just click on the link, and then you will be led to this particular page, which is Homebrew documentation. Now kindly scroll down, and you can see that there is a Mac OS requirements as such, and you can see a command line prompt over here, which is command line tools CLT, which is xcode select hyphen hyphen install. Okay, so you need to run this particular command in your terminal so that xcode get installed in your Mac as such. Okay, and xcode is required so that you can install Homebrew as such. So what you need to do is you need to search terminal. So I'll just type terminal over here, and you'll be able to get something like this in your machine, Mac machine. I'll just click on terminal, and terminal is similar to what we have in Windows. We have command prompt, right? We enter CMD and we can open up command prompt as such, and that's how we can run our CLT, which is command line tools over here. So what I've done is I've copied this xcode select hyphen hyphen install, and I'll just come here. So I'll copy this one, and then I'll come to terminal, and then I'll paste the command over here, which is xcode select install. I'll press enter, and I get an error over here, which is command line tools are already installed. So what it means is command line tool xcode is already installed in my machine. Now it might happen that you don't have xcode in your machine, and if you do not have xcode in your machine, you will be able to see some messages that xcode is getting installed in your machine. Now because I have already xcode in my machine, that's why I'm getting this error. Now because xcode is present in my machine, I can go to the next step, which is installing Homebrew. Okay, so I'll come to this particular page of Homebrew installation. I'll scroll a little bit down, and I'll be able to see a section over here, which is git remote mirroring. And this git remote mirroring, there is a command over here, bin bash. So what we are doing is from the GitHub user content Homebrew, I'll just copy this particular line, command line. I'll come to the terminal and then paste this particular command over here, which is Homebrew installation. From the GitHub I'm trying to install. I'll just press enter, and it will ask for a password. So it's asking for a sudo access password, and the password has to be your machine password. Okay, so what you can do is you can enter your password over here, and once you have entered your password, it will give an indication what the script is going to do. Okay, so the script is going to install Homebrew, and it's going to install in your user local paths as such. And if you are happy with this particular script that you have to install in your machine, just press enter, and it will download and install Homebrew in your machine as such. So the command is running behind the scenes, and I have already installed Homebrew in my machine. That's why I'm getting updating Homebrew. But in your case, what it should happen is it should
download and install. Okay, now I got a message over here which is installation successful. Okay, in your case what might be required is you might require to run certain two commands, and post that it will give an indication that you have to set up the path for homebrew as such. Okay, now please note that even that message will come in this particular command prompt as such, that you have to install the path. You will have to run those commands in this command prompt. Okay, there will be couple of commands which is echo related, and you just have to run those commands. It could be two commands or three commands. You just have to copy and paste it over here and press enter on your machine, and it will run automatically. It will take microseconds, and once you have done that successfully, what you will have to do is you will have to just press here as brew update and then press enter, just to check whether the homebrew has got installed. And you can see a message over here already up to date, which means that homebrew is successfully installed in your machine. Okay, so as so what the steps are, that you have to install Xcode. Okay, so Xcode is this particular command which we were able to see over here, and after that what you have to do is you have to run this command which is being shown over here from the GitHub user. Okay, bin bash curl command, which is GitHub user. Post that. Once you get this message, there will be couple of commands as an echo command coming in the terminal, which is setting up the path of the homebrew in the machine. Okay, you will have to run those commands, and post that you will get a message over here which is installation successful. And once that is done, you have to run this particular command which is brew update, and you will be able to get a message already up to date, which means that homebrew is successfully installed in your machine. All right, now that we have installed homebrew and we have homebrew currently in our MacBook, what we will try to do is we will try to install Java. And what I've done is I've opened up a terminal, and now I'll go to Google and just type here as how to install Java on Mac using homebrew, and you will get certain Stack Overflow related queries, and then you can see brew install Java. That's the command. So I'll just copy that, and then I'll come to terminal. I'll just type over here brew install Java and then press enter on my terminal as such. Okay, so you can see that the downloading command has started, and you are on Mac OS 12. We do not provide support for this old version. It is expected to behave. Alright, so it is important that you have Mac OS 13 version. So post installation of Java in your machine, what you can do is you can come here and just type here as in the terminal Java hyphen version. And then when you press enter, you will be able to see that there is a Java version which is appearing as 1.8.0 version, and then there is a JRE as well which is present and appearing that the Java is installed in this particular machine as such. Okay, so Java is installed in this machine successfully. Now what we will try to do is we will try to install Node. Okay, so we'll go and just search how to install Node in Mac, and there is a link over here, download Node.js, and then you can come over here, you can copy this curl command until bash, and then come back in the terminal, and it will start installing Node as such. And you'll be able to see commands like this, that the nvm command has got started, and then what you can do is nvm install 22, This is what we'll type. You can come to the terminal and then type here as node hyphen version, node hyphen v, npm hyphen v. So we have got a, so we'll close the terminal and then we will reopen the terminal, and post this what we'll do is we'll just type here as nvm hyphen v, and you can see that the node version is coming 0.40.1. Now what we'll try to do is we will try to install Appium using node. So we'll just type here. Now we will try to install npm in this particular machine. So what we'll try to do is brew install npm. Now the download has started. So nvm has been successfully installed, but we want especially npm. So npm is getting installed. So once the node installation has been completed, you can see that node bash completion has been installed. This particular message will come, and you can see that what I've done here is I've run a couple of commands over here, which is node-v, okay, which shows the version of 23.7.0 in my current machine. And after that, I have run npm-v, which is 10.9.2. Okay, so this is the version that I've installed. So node is successfully installed, even npm is successfully installed. Now what we will do is we will install Appium. Okay, now for that what we'll do is we will go to Google, and we will type here as download Appium using npm in Mac. All right, now there are a couple of links that you will get over here, which is Appium, and you can see that there is a command we should get here as npm I minus or hyphen g Appium. So I'll just copy this and come to terminal and then type it over here, and what will happen is Appium installation will start. Okay, now let's wait for this Appium installation to get completed. All right, now we have got message that added 472 packages in 58 seconds. So what it means is it's kind of giving an indication that Appium has been installed. Now what I'll do is I'll just type here as Appium hyphen v, and you can see that we have got Appium installed in our machine, okay, which is 2.15.0. So this kind of gives an indication that even Appium has been installed, and in next video what we'll try to do is we will try to run this server and then see whether the Appium really runs or not. Alright, now that we have installed Appium, now just to give a recap, what we have done until now is we have installed Xcode, we have installed homebrew, we have installed Java, we have installed Node and npm as well, and now we have installed Appium. Okay, so we have reached to the state where Appium is installed. Now what we'll do is we'll run the Appium server, and it's just a simple command, which is just we'll type here as Appium and then press enter on our keyboard. And you can see that we have got a message over here, welcome to Appium 2.15.0, and you can see that a new server has got started. Okay, 27.0.0.1 and then 4723. So server has been started. Now what we'll do here, we'll just open up a browser and then we'll just type here as localhost and then 4723. We'll just type. So we'll type here as https then 127.0.0.1 and then 47. So we got a message over here that is status equal to 9 and error unknown command. The requested resource could not be found or a request was received using HTTP method and this is not supported maps track trace. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go back to terminal, and in the terminal that we can see that our HTTP is going to hit, and we can see that we have received some HTTP calls and there is a no route found as such. So Appium server is running. Okay, we can use this Appium server to perform the test that we really want to do. So running the Appium server has been successful, at least that part. Now in further sections, what we will do is we will try to install drivers, we will try to set up the capabilities, we will try to use the mobile phone as well to do our Appium test as well. So this is what we wanted to do. We just wanted to run our Appium server as such. Alright, now in this particular video, what we'll try to do is because we do not have IntelliJ in our machine, we will try to install IntelliJ. Now, IntelliJ is a developer tools. It's an integrated development environment where we can write Java code. Now, Appium, because it's a Java special tool as such, we will have to download or use any Java specific integrated development environment. You can also use Visual Studio Code if you're really comfortable. In this course, especially, I'm using IntelliJ so that whoever, because that's one of the leading Java IDE as such. So what I'll do is I'll search IntelliJ Community Edition in Google, and what you'll get is this particular link, which is IntelliJ Idea. I'll just click on it, and what you'll be able to see here is IntelliJ Ultimate version. Now we don't want Ultimate version because this is a paid version. I'll just scroll down a little bit and you can see that there is an IntelliJ Idea Community Edition here, and it's a .dmg file. So I'll just click on download. So I'm in downloading the community edition, which is IntelliJ. And you might have noticed that the download has started. It's got triggered, and we'll just wait for some time so that the installation or the at least the download gets completed. Once the download is got completed, we'll start the installation. All right, now that the download has got completed, what I'll do is I'll open up the folder as such, and I'll click on download. And what I'll try to do is I'll drag and drop IntelliJ into applications. Now IntelliJ is moving into applications. Alright, now once it has moved into applications, what we can do is we can just search here as IntelliJ Idea, and then you can see that our IntelliJ Idea should open up in Mac as such.
All right, now the pop-up has come. Whether we can open it, I'll just click on open, and the community edition is opening up. And we have got our welcome to IntelliJ message as such. Okay, now here what we can do is we can ideally create a new project, but having said that, let's do that in the next video. All right, so let's create a new Java project in our IntelliJ. So what I'll do is I have opened up IntelliJ with welcome to IntelliJ message as such. I'll click on new project, and you can see that this particular window opens up. Now here we can provide the name to our project. So name I'm providing here as iOS Appium tests, and location I've selected as IntelliJ project as such, which is by default, and build system is IntelliJ, and JDK. JDK has been automatically picked up, as you can see in this particular machine. So I'll select 1.8 version, which is the one which we have got auto detected. Otherwise, we can download Oracle JDK 23.0.2. So I'll just select here as a 23 version of JDK. I'll just click on create, and you can see that we have started installing Oracle OpenJDK 23.02. Now you can see that download had got completed, even the installation got completed. Now there is a scanning of the files, that is indexing happening down below. Now there is an indexing happening. Alright, so indexing has got completed, and as you can see that the default project or default method, main method, has been created, and we have got a Java project. Now when we first time create a Java project inside IntelliJ, it will automatically create a main method as such, but we are interested in creating some tests. Okay, so I'll just click on run over here just to give a view how it really runs. So build has started in IntelliJ, and you can see that there is an output which has got generated here, which is hello, well, and welcome, and I equal to 2, I equal to 3, I equal to 4, 5, and process finish. So what it means is at least our default code or the main method is working fine, and everything looks good. Now apart from this, what we can do is we can go into terminal. I'll just open up terminal, and we can run certain commands over here. So what I can do is java hyphen v. In fact, I'll type as java hyphen version, press enter, and you can see that our java version has reflected as 23.0.2, and we can run npm hyphen v, and there is an npm which is 10.0 10.9.2. We can type just node hyphen v. So node is version 23 in our machine. Okay, so we have created a small project, as you can see, which is not a test as such. It's just a Java project, and it does what it is required to do. We have not added any test as such. We have not created any framework as such, but at least we have created a small project. Now we will use this project, we will modify this project to call a test, and we will try to use Appium to and use we can use this terminal as well to create our server. So what I'll do is I'll just come to terminal, and I'll just type here as Appium and then press enter, and you can see that our Appium server has started. I'll just click on this particular link, and I'm just getting this message which is error unknown command.
but at least we are able to run our command from here from IntelliJ as such. So we can use now IntelliJ to this particular project in further videos to create our Appium test as such.
Alright, so in this particular video, what I wanted to show you guys is the phone that I'm going to use. And what I've done in this case is I am using a iPhone which I have connected using a cable to my MacBook, and that's why you are able to see on my screen currently the phone that I'm going to use. Okay, so there are some details that we will require to use from this phone so that we can actually use the application or the app to open up in this phone. Okay, because this is a mobile app testing that we are doing, that's why I wanted to show this phone that I am going to use. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this particular settings. So I'll just open up my phone, and first time when you are opening up the phone, you might encounter to getting a message that do you trust this computer. Okay, so there will be a open up a pop-up that might be coming to you once you connect your phone to your MacBook through the data cable, and you have to click on trust, because if you do not click on trust, what will happen is this particular phone will not appear in the MacBook. Okay, apart from that, what you need to do is you need to enter the passcode as soon as you click on trust. What will happen is you might encounter a passcode that you might have to enter in that case. Okay, so I'll open up my phone now. I'll go into settings. As you can see, I just clicked on settings, and after that I'll go into general. So within the settings you will be able to see something called as general, and I'll just click on general as such, and I'll just click on this particular button which is about. So I went into about, and I am using in this case iPhone which is a model name of iPhone 6s Plus. I understand it's a pretty old model that of iPhone that I'm using in this particular course, but having said that, this should be relevant to any other new iPhone that is coming into the market. Okay, so if you are using iPhone 11 as such or 12 as such, you can probably come here and just have a look at it, and then you need to have the software version as well. So here in this case it is appearing as 13.5.1 version as such. But in this about section you will be able to see a lot of numbers as such. Okay, so there is a serial number, there is a model number, there is a model name as such, there is a software version. So if I scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see the service provider as such. There is a Wi-Fi address. So all are numbers, as you can see. Some are alphanumeric numbers, which is Wi-Fi address as such, Bluetooth as such, and EMI number as such, ICC ID, MEID as such, modem firm as such. Okay, so all these numbers are appearing over here, but what is really important to connect to Appium as such is the capabilities of the phone and the app as such. Okay, so what I'll do in this next video is I'll try to make you guys understand what is the capabilities and why those capabilities are very important, because in order to connect your Appium scripts to your phone as such and the app as such, you need to define the capabilities. Okay, so all these numbers are there for the phone, it is there, but what we are interested is something like UDID. Okay, UDID is the device number, the phone that is present as such, and we would require to have UDID of that phone number as such. Okay, so that Appium can understand, okay, this is the device ID which I need to connect to, and I need to run the test on. Okay, just imagine if you have connected 5 phones on this particular Mac. Okay, not that I'm saying it's possible or impossible, but if you connect even if 2 phones or 3 phones for example, okay, how would Appium really understand which phone you have to connect to out of these three? All right, so it is important that you have to understand the capability number so that you pass it on to the Appium message, and the Appium use it and try to run the scripts on that particular device as such. Okay, so device name is important. What we have seen over here is about there is a name which is iPhone. Okay, and we need to understand the software version as well, and we need to understand UDID as well, okay, which is very important. So in the next video, what I'll try to do is I'll try to make you guys understand what is capabilities, okay, and then again I will come back to this particular phone and we will try to extract some more information from this phone so that we can use it in the Appium scripts. And this is pretty important because without capabilities, you will not be able to point your scripts or Appium scripts to those particular device as such. Alright, so in this particular video, as I promised, I will be talking about capabilities. Okay, and these are the six most required capabilities that we want to have in our hand so that we can start with Appium scripts. Okay, now this is one of the most important aspects of Appium, and it's very important that you understand these capabilities. Otherwise, if you try not to use these capabilities or if you try to enter a different wrong capabilities, you might not able to start with Appium scripts as such. Okay, even though you have configured these capabilities or you are not aware or wrong configuration is there, Appium won't work. Okay, and Appium might work but it will not be able to detect your machine or your phone as such, or the app that you really want to automate. Okay, so that's why it's very important to understand. Now, okay, then I realized there are not six, but actually seven capabilities that we have to understand. Now, device name, as I mentioned, we could see a name in our phone that is appearing as a device name, which is like iPhone as such. And UDID is the most important one, that is your device number as such, which you might not be aware, but what I'll try to do is one of the next videos I'll try to get this UDID from our iPhone as such. Okay, platform name is also important, platform version is also important, automation name is also important, app package is also important, app activity is also important. So in subsequent videos, what we will try to do is we will try to capture these values of these capabilities so that we can automate our app as such. Okay, so in the next videos, we will be trying to extract this information one by one so that we can keep it our handy and use it in our Appium scripts. The reason I touched base on this is because most of the students, what they do is they don't understand about capabilities and they try to use the capabilities they might have used in Android phones as such, and it might not work for your iOS, or they might be looking at a wrong device as such. So this is an important factor before we proceed with our Appium scripting as such. So hope you understand that these are the capabilities that is required. Now let's try to get these capabilities handy in our subsequent videos. Alright, now what I wanted to touch base on the capabilities especially was that I had listed all these capabilities, which is device name, UDID, platform name, platform version, automation name. Now all these capabilities, the five capabilities that I've listed on top, you can see are common to Android and iOS. Okay, so if you are scripting Appium especially for Android, you might be using a app package and app activity, but the common capabilities remain the same. But if you are using iOS, okay, and which is an example in this particular course that I am using iOS, bundle ID is our capability. It won't be app package and app activity. Now in some of the videos that I have used, when I am saying about app package and app activity, please don't mind, this is specifically for Android, but the similar thing is bundle ID in case of iOS. Okay, so even if you use Appium scripts for iOS, you will have to use bundle ID and not the app package and app activity. Okay, now this is very important because bundle ID is something as an app that has to be determined and we have to provide this details. So when I'm using Appium scripts and especially with iOS simulator, you might be seeing that I'm using bundle ID and not the app package and app activity, because app package and app activity is specifically for Android. I'm just using an example, right? These are the capabilities that we really require, and app package and app activity I might be using, but I really want to say this out that bundle ID is the one which we have to use in the capability. especially with iOS. Hope it makes sense. And when I am scripting in further sections, you will be able to see that I am using bundle ID and not the app package and app activity. All right. Now that we have understood that these capabilities are very important, what I'll do is I'll go to my mobile now. Okay, and I'll open up the mobile. Um, and you can see that there is a name over here, right, in about section that we looked previously. What you have to do is you have to go into settings of your iPhone, and from settings you have to go into general settings, and from general settings you have to go to about. Okay, once you go to about, you will be able to see a name over here, right? You are able to see a name, and that's your device name. So in this case it might be some name message that you might have given, like for example Pratik's iPhone, for example. It might be that name. Okay, that is very important that you capture that and keep it handy so that we can use it in the APM scripts. Kindly make a note of it. Another reason was a software version. Okay, so you have seen over here that platform version is another capability that we have to have it handy. So kindly make a note of it, which is 13.5.1, and write it down or keep it handy with you. We will again use it in your APM scripts. Okay, platform name. Now platform name is pretty easy. The platform name that we are talking about is iOS. Okay, so there is no doubt in that. But if you would have used Android phone, it would have been Android. But in this case, particularly because we are using an iPhone and which is an iOS, platform name becomes that one. Okay, so we have got our device name, we have got our platform name, we have got our platform version. Okay, now UDID, as I said, UDID is very important. Okay, that's the device number. And for that, what we'll do is we'll go into our phone, and we'll go into open up a Safari document as such, and we will try to get UDID um, iPhone. If you click on this, you'll be able to see different ways to get your UDID iPhone as such. Okay, now if you have iTunes from your phone, you can easily get it. But if you don't have iTunes, what I'm going to show you is another mechanism where you can get UDID. So there is something called as get.udid.io. Okay, so this is one of the suggested sites. I'll just click on it, and it's leading me to this page, which is get UDID for your client's device automatically. So let me click on this. So we get a message over here. This website is trying to download a configuration file, and do you want to allow this? I'll just click on allow, and you can see profile downloaded. Review the profile in settings app if you want to install it. Okay, so I'll just click on close. I'll go to settings, and you can see that over here there is a profile downloaded. Okay, so I'll just go to profile downloaded, and over here there is an install profile. I'll just click on install, and it will ask for a passcode of the phone, and we can click on install as such. So it's installing profile as such, and as you can see, once it has installed, you can see that there is a UDID which is appearing in this particular section. So I'll just copy this UDID and keep it handy. I can click over here and then copy it and then keep it somewhere safe so that it appears and we can use it in the APM scripts as such. So this is our UDID, which is the capability that we wanted to add it in our APM scripts as such. All right, now that we have understood about our UDID, that covers our at least 4 capabilities. So we have understood what is a device name, what is a UDID, what is a platform name, what is a platform version. Now let's have a look at this 5th capability, which is an automation name. Now this also will not be that difficult to find out, and this specifically is because of an iOS operating system and we are using an iPhone. Automation name will be something very easy to find out. Like for example, if you are using an Android, generally we use an automation name the capability as a UI automated 2. Okay, now because it's an iPhone, we cannot use UI automated 2. What we will have to specifically use is XCUI test as such. Okay, so and XCUIT test is driver as such, which we will have to install in our machine as such. Okay, so if I go to Appium and just search here as drivers, I'll just go here on the documentation of Appium and I'll just click on Appium drivers, which is an Appium documentation. And it is very important to have a look that this particular statement that you cannot use Appium without using at least one driver. Okay, so this is a very important statement, and generally whoever is teaching about Appium or whoever is using Appium tend to miss this particular step, which is Appium drivers. So I've seen people who or students who have started with Appium and they don't know that they have not installed driver as such. But this particular statement will remove all your doubts that you need at least one driver to play with. Okay, and it depends on your operating system. Right now, if I scroll down little bit, you will be able to see depends on your operating system. Now if it is a Mac or Windows or Linux, then it can be Chromium. Okay, and if you're specifically using Android, in some cases you might use Android phones as well for your testing, and in that case it will be UI automated 2. And in case of iOS, it is XCUIT test as such. Okay, now this supports for iOS platforms as well. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can use some other drivers as well, which is Flutter, and you can use UE as well if you really want to. But in this course, what I'm going to show you is XCUIT test as such. Okay, so let me install XCUIT driver as such. So how do we do that? Is if I scroll up, you'll be able to see that there is a command which we can use, Appium driver install and then installation key as such. Okay, it's as easy as that. So what I'll do is I will go to terminal again. So I'll just type here as terminal, and I will open up terminal, which is a terminal as such. And what I will do here is Appium, write a command which is a space driver install XCUIT test. Okay, and then press enter on my keyboard. So I'll just wait for this driver to get installed because we already have Appium in our machine. That's why it becomes easy. Right now it is checking whether if a Appium XUIT test driver is compatible, and it has found out that it is compatible, and now it's installing the driver itself in this particular machine. Okay, this is a very important steps, so that we can use this as a capability in our Appium test as such, and this becomes as our automation name as such, which we can use to set up the capability. So after the driver installation has got completed, you can see that we have got a message over here which is driver XUIT test successfully installed, and we can see the automation name as this particular. Okay, and you can see the platform names as well, which is iOS. So this is very important because that's a capability that we were expecting, XUIT test as an automation name. Post installation we have got these details, and we have got the platform name as well. Okay, so this is what it is. We have got all 5 capabilities now handy with us, and we have installed our driver as well. And it is important now to get other 2 capabilities, which is app package as well as app activity. Now in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a particular tool which is called as Appium Inspector. Okay, now Appium Inspector is pretty good to connect to our app and then try to understand or get the elements as such. We can create the session as well, and we can use it to detect the element properties, which helps in our automation as well. And we can use it in the element locators as well. So let's do that next. Alright, so in this video what we'll do is we will install a tool, a very good tool which is called as APM Inspector in this particular Mac. And as I mentioned, this definitely helps us. This particular tool is very widely used in APM world especially. So I'll just go here and I'll just type here as APM Inspector and I'll just press enter and I'll just go to APM Inspector download. I'll go to the link of GitHub and I'll come down and then I'll look at the Mac versions of .dmg. I'll just click on this and the download has started, as you can see. Once the download gets completed, I'll start the installation. Alright, so the download is complete. I'll just open up and I'll just double click and I'll just move this APM inspector into the applications and the installation should start. And once I come here, I'll just type here as APM inspector and you can see that the APM inspector is searchable here. I'll just click on it and it is getting opened up after verification. The APM inspector is opening up and you can see that APM server itself has started. Okay. Now what I can do is I'll go to my terminal. I'll open up terminal and over here I'll just start my APM server. Okay. So I'll just press enter. I just entered APM and you can see that the APM server has started. Okay, and it has detected a driver this time. As you can see, there is a driver which we had installed in the previous video and the automation name is XCUITest as such. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll come to APM inspector and then I'll click on start session. I will enter the capability builder. Okay, so I'll just enter here as automation name and the automation name is supposed to be XCUITest. I'll add one more which is platform name. Now this is supposed to be iOS platform version. Alright, so now what we have done is we have understood about capabilities. We have installed our APM as well, APM server. We have created APM server as well. We have installed APM inspector and we have set up our drivers as well. Okay, now what is important for our iOS related APM testing, we will have to have Xcode in our machine. Okay, and now depends on the version of Mac that you are using currently in your machine, and what you have to do is you have to at least download one version of Xcode. You can come to this particular code releases. So if you search for Xcode download Mac, you can come here Xcode releases and depends on your Mac system or Mac OS as such. Okay, so if you are using the latest one, it will appear somewhere here. So I'll just mention that if I go to Apple and if I click on about Mac, you can see that I'm currently using 12.7.6 version of Mac currently. Okay, I'll just close this and I'll just scroll down and 12.7 version, I'll see which particular Xcode is really compatible. Okay, so I'll scroll down and I have come here which is Xcode 14.0. Now 12.7 is a minimum. 12.7 is the version of Mac OS that I'm using in currently this machine, and I can see that Xcode 14.0.1 should be good enough because this supports Mac OS 12.3. Okay, so I'll just click on download. So it will come up to the app development agreement and then you can scroll down and you can click on check agreement and then click on submit. And let the download has started. It might take some bit of time. Let the download get completed and then we will install the Xcode in our machine as such. All right, so one of the reason that we will have to use WebDriver agent and we will have to have an Apple ID. So what you have to do is you have to have an Apple ID. If you don't have an Apple ID, what you can do is you can go into apple.com and Apple will have a developer login as such. So you will have to create your developer login. So what you can do is you are trying to set up a Apple developer login as such. Now you can see that create yours now. There is another link for this. If you don't have an Apple ID, and it will open up Apple account as such. So what you can say is automation. So you can provide your name and you can provide the details as such, and some details like birthday and your email address as such. All right, so once you provide the details, and it will require to give some more details as such. All right, so once you have the Apple developer agreement, what you can do is you can click on yes and then click on submit. So once you have created your Apple developer, what you can do is you can go to Xcode, and within Xcode you will be able to see a developer driver agent as such in the Xcode. And if you are not able to see this, what you can do is you can, over here there is a web driver agent runner, and here you will have to provide a team. So click on add account and provide your Apple ID, provide your password, click on next. You might receive a verification code. You will have to provide the verification code as such. So once your Apple ID has been added, you can close this in the accounts, and then you can go and select a team over here, which is your ACE automation. So what will it do is WebDriver agent runner will update the profile as such. And what we have to do is we have to go inside this one, WebDriver agent library, select your iPhone, the phone that you are testing on, that you have connected, and then go to product, click on test, and the testing will start. The build has succeeded, and it is giving an indication unlock your iPhone. So I have unlocked it, and the testing will start. Installing to iPhone, testing has started, and test has failed. There is another WebDriver agent. So I'll just click over here. Is So your particular bundle ID identifier has to be unique. So I'll just click on try again. So I'll come to terminal, and then I'll come to Appium inspector. I'll just click on start session. I'll come to the terminal as such. All right, now in this particular video, what we are going to discuss is we are going to use a simulator, which is an iOS simulator, and there will be an application of maps in iOS simulator as such, and which we'll be testing. So when you have installed Xcode, you might have got one more option of simulators. And how would you know about the simulators is within the Xcode, you can come towards window option and you can click on Windows option, and over here you will be able to see devices and simulators. Okay, so there are devices and simulators which comes along with Xcode when you have installed Xcode. So let's click on this devices and simulators, and you'll be able to see the devices as well as simulator over here. Okay, so in the previous video what we did is we were able to look for a real device which was connected to us, and that had a UDID, right? And apart from that there are something simulators which are provided with Xcode as such, and we can use these simulators to test our Appium as well, okay, through mobile testing we can do that. Now, because I am going to use simulator for my testing, and what I did is I wanted to show you guys how to configure simulator as such. Okay, so in this case, in this particular example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an iPhone 14. And iPhone 14, when I click on this one, you can see that there is an identifier over here which is 97779. All these are big digit number over here, okay, which is the UDID for this particular simulator, right? So when I was explaining about UDID, how to get the UDID from the real device as such, what we were doing is we were able to install a software through which we can actually use that and get our UDID as such. Okay, we can do that. Apart from that, we can come to devices section as well, and through devices section we can get the UDID for our phone. So you can see that the phone that I was using and as an example previously was this particular section. You can see I was using the iPhone and the iOS of 13.5.1 version, and the model was iPhone 6s Plus, and it had a particular capacity, and there was an identifier over there, right? That is how we could determine the real device. But in this case, we will try to use a simulator, and in the simulator as well, because this course I wanted to explain both real device and simulator. That's why what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something related to this simulator as such. Okay, so this is a simulator, and when you open up this particular iPhone 14, you might have noticed one particular simulator which has opened up. Okay, so this is iPhone 14 which has opened up, which is iPhone 14, which is iOS 16.0. Okay, now this is similar to a real device, but this is a kind of a simulator. It's not a real device as such. What it means is you can use it as a application altogether, as how you will be using it in the real devices. But if what if you do not have the real device, right? If you do not have the real device, you will be able to use simulator as such to navigate through your application as such. Okay, so what I'm going to do again is that we explained about the WebDriver agent, and with the WebDriver agent, what we did is we went into the WebDriver agent, and within this you can particularly select an option over here which is iPhone 14, right? iPhone 14 over here, there is an iPhone as well. So last section we were able to run our build as well as test on iPhone, but this time around what we'll do is we will select iPhone 14, and then we will try to do a build on this. Okay, so I'll go to product, and then I'll perform a build over here. So because I've selected iPhone 14, you can see that we'll be able to do simulator build on the simulator as such. Okay, so let's do this. So you can see that the building is happening, and then there is a 386 probably lines of code which is present. So it's kind of building, and we want to start the test as well. All right, so we got a message over here: build was successful, succeeded as such. And you can see that we have used our WebDriver agent library to perform this activity. Okay, now what we will do is we will go into our simulator. Okay, and we will come to home page. I'll just click on home, and we are on home. Now I'll come to APM inspector. Okay, and now I'll close this quit my session, and I'll show you how I have converted my APM inspector as such. Okay, so I have used four capabilities now. I have added platform name as iOS, automation name as XCUITest, UDID as our device name, device number as such. Now, device number is the device of the iOS simulator. Okay, now this time we are not using the real device, but what we are doing is we are using a simulator. And how did I get this particular UDID is, as I explained, if we go into Xcode, and within the Xcode, if I go to window, And if I go to particular devices and simulators, in this section, if you click on this particular phone that we want to really test, iPhone 14, you will be able to see an identifier over here. So this is the identifier that I have copied and I have pasted in my Appium inspector as such. Okay. Now what I will do is I'll go to my terminal and I have been running my Appium server. So Appium server is up and running. Okay. And now what I'll do is I will start my session in Appium inspector. Okay, please note that I have configured all the required details or required capabilities, which is platform name, automation name, UDID, and bundle ID. Okay, now let's click on start session. And when I click on start session, you can see that if I come to terminal, that it has started the conversation or the transaction to our app as such, or the simulator as such. And if I come to the simulator, a lot of things are happening. So you can see the APM server is running, right? I have started my this APM inspector is running in the background, and I have opened up my app as such. Okay, simulate opened my simulator as such. Now you can see that there is an app source which are appearing over here. Now if I come to APM inspector as such and search for element, now what I can do is I can go and click on maps, and the moment I do that, you can see that the app itself, we are getting a lot of other details or selectors, and we are getting the element locators for maps. Okay, so you can see iOS class chain, we are getting the iOS class chain, we are getting the XPath as well, and we are getting the element ID, the type, the name, label, enable true, visible false, accessible false. So all these details are coming, okay, which is an element locator for app itself. Okay, so that is what I meant to say, that we can use iOS simulators as well to look for the elements within the iOS simulator. Okay. Now, as an example, what I'm going to do next is I am going to use the APM inspector, as well as within the help of APM inspector, I'm going to scan some of the elements of the map, right, by creating a session within the APM inspector, and then we will try to launch it. Okay, that is a whole aspect of it, right? We have not used APM scripts yet. What we have been using until now is APM inspector, and we have been using a device how we can actually scan and get the details, get the elements of the application, so that we can start testing. Okay, so we have not started testing yet, but my whole intention of this particular video is how do we use APM APM inspector itself to create a session with our iOS uh, simulator, so that we can get some details like element, selected element as such, right? And we can try to get some unique elements so that we can drive the APM scripts using this element locators as such. Alright, so in this video, let's try to again restart our APM server. So what I'll do is I'll kill my APM server. So I'll do Control C, and APM server has been closed. So I'll quit the session of APM inspector as such as well. And we will restart the server. So what we'll do is APM will start the server as such. And once the server has been started, you can see that XCUIT is running, which is automation name. Now we will click on the start session, and please note that we have provided the bundle ID apple.com.maps as such. Okay, so we'll wait for the APM inspector to look for our app, and our app has opened up. Now let's click on maps, and I'll just click on refresh of refresh the source or screenshot in the APM inspector. And what APM inspector is doing is it's getting refreshed with the session as such. And you can see within the iOS app as such, you can see that our whatever is appearing in the app, right, it is automatically getting picked up here. Okay, so I'll just click on here, allow once, and you can see that our selected element has changed over here. So this is very important to drive our APM scripts as such. So you have got the XPath details, right, which is XCUIT element test type, and this is what is appearing over here. Now we will click on allow once. Okay, and while I clicked on allow once, you can see the session is still there. Okay, so APM inspector session will still remain, but when we click on the refresh button over here, right, in the APM inspector, then it will pick up the next session, right? Now it will refresh the source and screenshot. So this APM inspector helps to at least give those element details so that we can get those element details easily. Okay, so let's refresh now, and it's getting refreshed, and I'm just waiting here so that the refresh happens and it has picked up the element or the page which is appearing on the app. Okay, now similar to what we are doing right now, you can see that the app has opened up, which is a map app as such, and then over here we can search the map, right? There is a text box over here, right? So in our APM scripts, what we really want to do is we want to click on this particular text box, and the moment I click that, you can see that there are selected elements appearing over here. So it is picking up the element properties as such, which we want to really pick it up and add it in our APM scripts. Okay, now what I'll do here is I will pass a detail of Sydney Harbor, which is a well-known place as such. So I'll just type over here as Sydney Harbor, and when I type over here as Sydney Harbor, you can see that there is a Sydney Harbor Bridge appearing over here, right? Now I'll just refresh the page so that refresh source and screenshot happens. So part of my test is I need to pass the details of Sydney Harbor, and then it's refreshing, and you can see that there is a Sydney Harbor over here, Harbor Bridge as such. Okay, so I'll just click on this particular element, and you can see that we have got the element details. Okay, so value is Sydney Harbor Bridge, and this is kind of a test that we want to really pick it up. Okay, so if I'm searching a Sydney Harbor, what I really want to appear in my test is Sydney Harbor Bridge as such. Okay, so we will put a validation over there, and once we click on Sydney Harbor Bridge, what should happen really is it should give the details about Sydney Harbor Bridge. Okay, so there is a map over here, and I'll just refresh the APM inspector as such as well, where the refresh source and screenshot will happen. And you can see that Sydney Harbor Bridge has appeared over here. Okay, so I'll just click on this, and once I click on this, you can see that the element properties has come over here, which is the accessibility ID, place, header, title, and then details about that as well. And exactly to this, we have got the Sydney Harbor Bridge. Okay, so if I'm able to open that up, you can see that we are getting this Sydney Harbor Bridge as our title, as well as you can see there is a placeholder title. Okay, so that is one aspect of it that we want to really test. And there is a button over here which is a directions. There is another button which is website, another button as tickets. Okay, so we can get some details about here as well, that there is should be a direction which is present over here. There should be a labels which is a direction. There is a website details also should appear for the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and there should be a ticket also which should appear for this particular Sydney Harbour Bridge. Now what we will do is we will close in the app over here, and in the search maps we will try to put as Statue of Liberty, and the moment I type that, you can see the first element is appearing over here as Statue of Liberty. And if we search over here, and if I click on refresh Appium session as such, so in the Appium inspector as well, we have got Statue of Liberty. And if we click on the first element, which is Statue of Liberty, there is a placeholder title, okay, which is appearing as Statue of Liberty. There is a directions similar to what we have got Sydney Harbour Bridge. There is a website, and there is a ticket as well. Okay, so we will try to put these validation in our Appium scripts. So there are two variables that will pass. First is Sydney Harbour Bridge. We will try to validate the placeholder title, and we will validate whether there is a direction, there is a website, there is a tickets functionality over there or buttons over there. And apart from that, we will try to validate Statue of Liberty, which is another another place that we want to really search in the Apple Maps. And we will try to pass that and check whether there is a direction, website, or ticket available in that particular map as such. So let's do that next using Appium scripts as such. Alright, so in this particular video, what we'll do is we will go into IntelliJ. So here is where we will start our Appium testing of Java project. And I have opened up IntelliJ, and I have opened up the project that we had created, which is iOS Appium test. I'll just click on it. And it will open up the Java project that we had created. And what we'll try to do is we will come to the main Java project that we had created, and there is a main class that was automatically got created, and then there is a public static void. There is a method over here which is main method, and there is a couple of line of code which is system out.printf, which is hello and welcome, and then it does a for loop which is int I equal to 1. Okay, so it was printing numbers from 1 to 0 to 4 as such, which is until 5 count. Now what we'll do is we will remove this particular code from our main method as such, and over in main method what we will do is we will try to use Appium. Okay, now, what we will try to do is we will go to. Now, I have realized that this is not a Maven project that we had created, which is iOS Appium test. That there is no pom.xml. Okay, so we require pom.xml to be added in our project altogether. So, what I'll do is I'll go to File, I'll search for New, and I'll just click on Project, and I'll select here as Maven. So I'll specifically select Maven so I get Maven project as such, so that there is a pom.xml, and I'll explain you why I really require that. I'll type here as iOS Appium test, and that directory is already existing. So what I'll do is I'll just modify this as map or Apple Maps as such, and then I'll click on create. I'll click on new window, and a new project has been created, which is a pom.xml file as such, which we are expecting. Okay, so there is a pom.xml file here,
And there is a purpose that we are creating a Maven project. What we really require is we require to add certain criteria over here, which is Appium. We want to add libraries of Appium. We want to add libraries of Cucumber as well. So that's why I have specifically created pom.xml or a Maven project altogether. Now, once this is created, I'll go to main and I'll remove this couple of lines, and here is where we have got our main method. Now I'll go to pom.xml and I'll add couple of dependencies. So what I'll do is in my pom.xml, I'll add a tag over here, which is dependencies, and I'll go to Google Chrome, and over here I'll add to search as Maven repository, and I'll go to central repositories, and over here I'll search as Appium. So you have got over here IO Appium as well, which is Java client. I'll just click on it and I'll try to find a stable version. So let me select as 9.3.1, and I'll just copy this and paste it in the dependencies. Alright, so I have added Appium here and I've got a sign over here which is sync Maven changes. Let me make this as a preference of white background so that's easier to visible. I'll click on OK. Now you are able to see M sign over here which is sync Maven changes. Apart from that, we want to add some other libraries altogether. So I'll just click on back, and over here what I'll do is I'll search for a library with JUnit. JUnit, this one. I'll take 4.3.1. I'll copy, come back in my pom.xml, and then load my Maven changes as such. So you can see that it's resolving dependencies. And importing as well as scanning and indexing as such. Alright, so our error is gone. You can see that Appium as well as JUnit we have added. We'll go to main. Alright, at least our error is gone and you can see a couple of libraries that we have added. Now what we will do is we will try to set up Appium as such. So we'll call a method over here which is void open mobile app, and we will declare this particular method outside public static void open mobile app, and over here we will declare the desired capabilities, and this desired capabilities needs to be imported with a class. So I'll just click on import class, and you can see that there is a import selenium remote deliver desired capabilities as such. Now once we have set up the method which is desired capabilities, we will add the four capabilities that we had added in our Appium inspector as such, which we had specifically added. So what I'll do is I'll just add four capabilities. So there are four capabilities that we have thought about, right? One is the automation name, second is the UDID, third is a platform name, and bundle ID. Now, this is the exactly same that we had entered in our APM inspector when we were inspecting our app under test. So what I'll do is I have already entered the platform name, which is iOS. Now, for automation name, I will enter the value as XCUITest. The UDID, I'll just copy the UDID and come back to my IntelliJ and enter the UDID over here, and the bundle ID. And the bundle ID is com.apple.maps. So I'll just copy that and come here and paste it over here. Alright, so we have entered all four capabilities as you can see in our um, Java project altogether, and this is just start of it. We will enter the details about our browser details as well. So URL we will initiate, and we will have to import this particular class which is URL as such, and that has to be part of Java. There is an APM driver, so we will import that as well, and we will have to declare driver as such, which is at the class level. And you can see majority of our errors are gone. Add exception method and sleep as well. We'll have to add the exception. All right, so we have reached and we have declared at least the local host 4723, which is required for in case of APM message, and this should exactly work. So we are supposed to add the exception. So this is exactly supposed to work as our APM inspector as such. Okay, so in APM inspector as well, we are doing the same thing. We were passing the four capabilities. So you can see the four capabilities we have declared over here, and then we are calling the routing of this particular local host 4723, which is where the APM proxy is running. Okay, so in case of APM inspector as well, as you can see, we were calling this particular local host 4723. Exactly that is what we are doing over here. Alright, so once we have declared this, what we really want to do is we want to open up the simulator, okay, which is iPhone i14 as such, and we will run this particular Java project. Okay, so let our Java project run, and simultaneously we will just open up the simulator as such as well. And you can see that our map has opened up, okay, successfully using the APM scripts as such. You can see some logs happening in the terminal as such, and we have opened the app as well behind the screens, and you can see some HTTP commands, which is post session 200 equal to 200. So responding to the client, which is a kind of successful response. So new executor, we can see it in the logs that new XCUITest is correctly appearing over here successfully. Sessions has been created successfully as well. So most of the aspect looks good from our coding perspective as well, and you can see that the process finished with exit code 0. All right, now what it means is that we are opening up the app using our APM scripts, okay, and that is what really want. But having said that, we have some exit testing criteria that we have to add, right? We are supposed to search Sydney Harbor, and we are supposed to search as Statue of Liberty as well, which we will be doing in the next video.
All right, now what we'll do is we'll go for this particular Appium inspector and we'll launch from the Appium inspector. And what it will do is it will create a session with the app itself. It will try to get the app source. And the moment we open up the app in our Appium inspector, what I'll do is I'll click on here in this text box. And in this text box, we have got accessibility ID, which is map search text field. I'll just copy this one. I just clicked on here and you can see it's get copied. And you can see that I can enter some command over here. Okay, so I'll just enter here Sydney Harbor just to test it out. And if I do a send keys, then you can see that the Appium inspector is entering the Sydney Harbor over here and our Appium logs are also working and simultaneously is running the app itself. Okay, so automatically it has picked up Sydney Harbor. So using Appium inspector, we can do a lot of things, right? Through which we can check whether our actions are working fine or the element locators that we are trying to pick up, it's appearing correctly or not. So I'll just come back to IntelliJ and I'll capture this particular this one element locator as such. So what I'll write here is driver dot find element, and here is what locator we have to enter. And find element, what we will have to really do is we'll have to come here in Appium inspector and we'll select accessibility ID. Now we'll enter find element new and you can see Appium by accessibility ID. So we'll pass it over here because we copied map search text field. We'll go back in IntelliJ and then enter that here and we will do a send keys. Okay, so send keys, and what we are trying to search is Sydney Harbor as our first field. So I'll click on refresh so that it picks up the details from our app. So what we are trying to do here, as you can see from Appium inspector, we are driving the app, and from the app when it appears the next page, we are coming back to Appium inspector and we are refreshing it so that it appears as a latest page as well as the latest elements on our screen. So what we are expecting is the first one is Sydney Harbour Bridge. So I'll just click on this search for element and I'll click on here, which is Sydney Harbour Bridge. Now once I click over here, you can see I don't have an accessibility ID over here, but what I have here is find by a different mechanism, which is class chain as well as predicate string, which is XPath as well. So I'll come back to IntelliJ now and I'll just type here as driver dot find element Appium by XPath. I'll just copy here and we have copied the XPath, and over here we can do a get text and store it in a string. So what we'll do is we'll define a string search results and we are putting it in the search results as such. Okay, and then we will define an assert over here. We'll put assert equals search results comma, what we are expecting is Sydney Harbor Bridge as our
assert value as such. So expected as well as actual results. All right, so we have at least added the assert value, and apart from that, what we really want is we need to click on this particular value. Okay, so we'll come back to Appium inspector and we need to click on this particular element. So I'll just come on search or element as such and we'll click here and you'll get the XPath. So I'll just copy it and come back, and then we'll define our driver dot find element, and we'll try to click on this particular element as such. And once we have clicked over here, so what I can do is through Appium I can click on this operation. So how do we click is we come here on this element and we click on this particular tap button, and you can see that by Sydney Harbor we are getting something like this on this particular page we have received. Okay, so I'll just click on refresh so that we come back on this particular app and Appium inspector as such. So it's getting refreshed, Appium inspector as such. All right, so we have come to Sydney Harbour Bridge. Now what we want to validate is this one. So I'll just click on this one and we can see that there is an accessibility ID. So that's a good mechanism. Accessibility ID is better than an expert. And one good thing about Appium inspector is it gives all the details. Okay, so it gives this particular portion about find by as well as there are attributes. So find by it is a better mechanism in the selector. So I'll just copy it, come back to IntelliJ, and then I will look for this particular string. Okay, so string, I'll put it into a string, search results, and this is a second search result that we are doing, and driver dot find element new Appium by accessibility ID, and we are passing this particular placeholder text title, and we will try to get text from here, and after that we'll do an assert as well. Assert equals, which is search results comma, we are again searching it to be Sydney Harbour Bridge, and apart from that what we are expecting it to be is we need directions, website and ticket. So I'll just bring my pointer over here, search for element, and then I'll click on directions, and then you can see that there is a accessibility ID. So I'll just copy this one and I'll come here. So driver dot find element new by accessibility ID, and we are passing this one. And over here what we are doing is we are just checking whether it's displayed or not. Okay, so that is what we are doing, and we are happy with if directions appear, direction appears on this page, we are good with it. We want website as well, so I'll just click on website, and you can see that the selected appear is going, and then there is a open home page. I'll just copy this, come back here, new Appium by accessibility ID, and we are passing the website is displayed. And the third thing what we want is tickets. Okay, so I'll just click on tickets. And you can see that there is a label over here, and if I try to drag this side, I'll take XPath this time. Tickets, will take external action. We copied the accessibility ID. We'll go back and accessibility ID. Now we are verifying that the direction, website as well as tickets are appearing on the screen. Now what we'll do is we will close this, quit this session, and we'll open up the app. We'll come to IntelliJ and we'll try to run from IntelliJ itself. So I'll bring the app here and I'll click on run, and we'll check our tests this time. So build is starting. The APM scripts are running the build. The tests have started. I'll open up the logs just to have a view.